With one match left before the Christmas hiatus, which is only a week because they again play, that being Barca against Eibar next Tuesday, Barcelona still had to take care of business against Real Valladolid on the road. Just 4 points coming into the match for Barca on the road this season. That was the worst record in La Liga, so this was no easy feat, even if Real Valladolid do find themselves in the relegation zone. With Ousmane and Dembélé not making the squad list, you were wondering what Koeman was going to do on the wing because the Coutinho experiment didn't work last week, same thing with Griezmann on the other side against Valencia, so we might have seen another look. If I had looked a little bit harder, I would have probably understood that Conrad de la Fuente not making the squad list might have been a hint to the way Koeman was going to play, and that is not without any actual wingers and just using the fullbacks out wide as wing fullbacks. It was a new look formation for Ronald Koeman, 3-4-2-1. Pedri to the left, Messi to the right behind Braithwaite, and then the four in the middle being the two wing-backs in Alba and Dest, and in the middle were De Jong and Pjanic. De Jong slightly in front of Pjanic in the same way that Messi was slightly in front of Pedri, but still we persist with that 3-4-2-1. And De Jong being farther forward is an important point because with that center-back support, he was more willing to carry the ball today, maybe more than we've seen all season long. And it leads to a 7th-minute Messi curling attempt. For the first time, Barca showing that they were going to hold the ball in this competition and were ahead on the right foot. But not in the way that they were dominating the match, in the way that they did in the first half against Real Sociedad, but merely that they had a system and the tactics were better than what Real Valladolid was throwing out there in their 4-4-2 medium block. Messi and Pedri in particular today, their combination is the one that I do want to pat Frances and I on the back. We're seeing a lot of it on social media. People saying, hey, look at this. Pedri and Pedri work well together. Well, we've been saying it on the podcast for quite a few weeks now. Pedri, we know he's been special, but he continues to defy in the way that Ansu Fati sets records, and so there are milestones and ways to talk about his accomplishments. But for Pedri, who doesn't have the same milestones to speak about, you just have to say, hey, I watch the matches and I see the eye test. This 18-year-old is doing incredible things, and certainly he is. In the 20th minute, a save was forced by Jordi Masip from a small dink of a pass on to Messi from Pedri for the shot. Masip, the former third-choice goalkeeper for FC Barcelona's first team, Jordi Masip, longtime Barca B goalkeeper as well. He's pretty good in his career against Messi, and this time again he gets the save, but as we know, Messi would be backed. Masip couldn't save the goal less than a minute later, scored on the Lenglet header from a corner actually. Barcelona, they score on corners less than 2% of the time, and while this one wasn't directly from a corner, still, it's all built up. Messi gets the assist as well. The ball was cleared off the second attempt, if you will, only out as far as Messi though, curls in the wide open header for Lenglet. After the Barca attackers reset their line, Joaquin worried about Mingueza, so good job by Mingueza to make that near post run. Joaquin was cut on the back foot, and Lenglet stays onside. Easy header goal for him, who's come back in the lineup and does need some confidence because, that's the very reason why Mingueza and Araujo started, and Lenglet has found himself on the bench. Lenglet as well, getting the goal, a nice tribute to Moussa Wagué, who we spoke about on the last edition of the podcast. Terrible, terrible injuries, but once a Kool-Aid, always a Kool-Aid, and in particular players that we do want to see do well, like a Moussa Wagué, who's out on loan in Greece, but will be recovering for at least next year if he ever does play again. Yes, Messi and Pedri were major reasons why Barca were so good, and De Jong also found the match and had a pretty good match himself. But this was Pjanic's best game in a Barca shirt, no doubt about that, and I'm seeing a lot of buzz about that as well. Easy to note why his passing percentages were so high. He was making not only simple passes, but as the match went on, the difficulty of his passes kind of increased, and he was willing to take a few more chances, in which he completed so many of those passes, taking chances in ways that Pjanic has not done yet this season. And only making his second La Liga start of the season, he has been behind Busquets on the depth chart, but nice to see he gets this opportunity, and I think he fully sees the opportunity. One of the things I do wonder is why Pjanic was so much more comfortable with this match than any other time in a Barca shirt. And I think that's because, as he did against Juventus for the last few seasons, he's become accustomed to playing with three center backs behind him. I think the formation itself showed how comfortable Pjanic would be. And I'm not sure if Barca goes back to their 4-2-3-1 or even a 4-3-3, if we can expect to see this kind of performance from him again, which I guess is almost a good news, bad news, but Pjanic's best game in a Barca shirt, but I don't know how long that'll last if this isn't the formation that Koeman continues to utilize. But as I said, we're talking about this match and Pjanic, who starts the move on the second goal. Messi keeps possession, attracts defenders to him, being brought to Messi like bees to honey, and then Messi pokes it out to Dest, who crosses in for Braithwaite for the finish. Braithwaite getting the finished product on a few attempts today, but this one in particular is the goal he gets, 2-0. Dest still suspect in defensive positioning at times, especially in that second half. It seemed like his brain clicked off as Barca went into second gear, and he wasn't the only fullback to go into second gear and make some mistakes. So Dest, in comparison to Alba, still looked like he had a good day at the office, but in that first half, it was even deceiving how good he was. 4 key passes and an assist in the first half alone for Dest. There are no complaints for the American for what he contributes to the attack. It's just the defensive side of the ball, which we knew was going to be a worry. I think it's still going to be a worry, particularly against better opposition. But in this kind of match, he was able to take more opportunities offensively, and he had to worry less about the defensive side of the ball because he did have Mingueza backing him up in that 3 center back formation. So we move on to the second half here. Quick note on Braithwaite, his job, as we understand, is to occupy the center backs and get on low crosses, which he did well. Unfortunately, this is nothing new either. His first touch isn't very good, and it wasn't very good multiple times in this match, but I do like the fact that he did his job, occupies the 2 center backs, and tries to get on the end of crosses, which he probably could have had a hat trick today. That's okay that he didn't finish, because that's not what Braithwaite is. Braithwaite is there to do a job. He is a bench player for Barcelona if they had a number 9 who was at the level of an FC Barcelona, but Braithwaite, for the player he is, I can't complain too much about what you're seeing from him. Real Valladolid did a good job, though, in the first 10 minutes of the second half through their manager, Sergio. Tony Villa was a good substitution. It worked well. He beats Serginho Dest to win a free kick, then got around Mingueza a few moments later, and certainly injected new life into this match in the first 10 minutes of the second half. But a few minutes after that, Sergio makes 3 more substitutions of good players at that, in Oriana as well as Messi. But that seemed to affect the momentum that Real Valladolid had built in that first 10 minutes of the second half. Let's finish up the rest of this match and then we'll talk about Messi. A yellow card for Alba means that he'll miss Eibar. He had 2 games in a row prior to this one, which were pretty good, so I guess he was due for a poor one. Also coming on short rest, I must mention as well, just 3 days ago, he played the full 90 against Valencia, so now he'll get about close to 2 weeks to rest until the next match. So Alba, hopefully he can get refreshed, rejuvenated, because this was certainly not his best. The yellow card is one that's annoys Kool-Aids for a long time, and that's just what you're going to expect from Alba at this point in his career. But not to be too much of a bummer, the 3-0 comes, an historic 644th goal for Messi, now passing Pelé on that list for most goals for a single club. And this one, it's a beautiful goal. It's one that hopefully Messi remembers. It's hard to remember all 644 of them, but hopefully he remembers this one. De Jong waits on it, having received a pass with his back to goal from Pjanic, and then he turns, finds Pedri, who pushes the ball with the back heel. Another brain teaser from Pedri to Messi to run onto, and Messi finishes rather easily for that historic goal and makes it 3-0, puts Real Valladolid away for the remainder of this match. So it was time for the substitutes. Did you think Riqui Puig was coming? Riqui Puig was not coming. I saw a really funny tweet by a former guest on the Barcelona podcast in Viewing. He put that, like a 70-year-old Catalan season ticket holder, Riqui Puig could be found up in the stands with the blanket. It did not look like he was entering that match, and that's true. Griezmann also, clearly he was going to be rested because he didn't even warm up in this match. Instead, 71st minute, we saw 3 new players, Umtiti for Araujo, Busquets for De Jong, and Junior Firpo for Alba. Within seconds, though, it's sad to see, Umtiti lunges forward to make the tackle. Mingueza rotates over, but the Valladolid attacker gets inside position on Mingueza, and Ter Stegen comes up big with a double save. Ter Stegen, and this must be said about goalkeepers, these are long matches, and to not have much to do all day and then come up with a double save like that, it's a credit to Ter Stegen. That's why he's number 1. 81st minute, it's Pedri off for Coutinho. As I said, Griezmann got the rest, and Puig and Elena got to keep him company in the stands. And Umtiti and Junior for the remainder of that match, not really looking like players that regularly play, so hopefully if they do get some more minutes and a run of form as you get into January and Copa del Rey, and there are minutes there to be found for those two, hopefully they can find a little bit of form, as Barca are going to need everybody, and we don't know how many other injuries are going to come in the spring, so having those two healthy and having a bit more confidence than they showed against Real Valladolid would be a good sign. Now, I must say about this formation, before we wrap this up, it does feel weird that Koeman got it so right with a lineup that wouldn't make sense against tougher competition. And let me say that again. This was the proper formation and the proper way to go against Real Valladolid. Clearly, he had looked at the game tape for the way that Valladolid wanted to play, especially at home. In that 4-4-2, they weren't going to be afraid of Barcelona, and they were going to try to get out onto the attack. But just due to the quality of the players in Sergio's squad, Koeman saw an opportunity to control the game in Valladolid's half of the field, and he did just that for all 90 minutes. So there is credit to be given for Koeman for getting his lineup so right against Real Valladolid, but I do question if this would make sense against so many other opponents, especially if you have the option of having Dembele or Fati playing as wingers. So I don't expect to see this lineup very often, but he got it right in this moment, so he deserves a lot of credit for that. Now, the other point that people are making from this match, and this is where we ended, with who else but Lionel Messi. People were saying that he's enjoying his football. He was frustrated at times in this match, particularly with the first touch of Martin Braithwaite, but the key is that you see that his expressions, his body language, he looked like he was enjoying what was happening on the field today. Very telling that Griezmann and Coutinho are on the bench. I can't imagine that those two feel good if Messi looks like he's found some newfound joy. But I'm wondering if we're overdoing that narrative of Messi's newfound joy. Obviously, people are going to drum up the rumors. The interview set to come out on the 27th, where he said to say that he's settled down, that after the explosion with Bartomeu over the summer when he wanted to leave, maybe behind the scenes no one has offered a price or he has no way out. Apparently, things are a little more settled and he's enjoying his football again, I guess. There's also, of course, a rumored conversation with Laporta that people are pointing to. But I do think Bartomeu no longer being around, even though there is no new president, him being gone is definitely part of it. And I think Messi feels like this is his club again, if you will, and with that power struggle with Bartomeu, also feeling like whether it's Laporta, whether it's Font, regardless of who the new president is, it's going to be somebody that Messi is going to be able to support and work with, and that there isn't going to be the same kind of issues that he had with Bartomeu. So I think that things that are happening off the pitch certainly have gotten better. That's obvious. We don't know exactly what the details are, and I think it is plausible that that is moving over to the field. But I also think that a limited preseason that they had, and the fact that Messi was also coming back from a few knocks and a few injuries, it meant that it was going to take him a while to come into form. Also, add a ton of new players where, even in this match, and this is where I'll end it, Messi and Pedri, even if he wasn't 18, it does take time for Messi to get to work with other attackers. Griezmann and Coutinho, it's never even happened for. But when we see the combinations between Messi and Pedri, it means that the kid's starting to get it. Same thing with Fati and Messi. You're seeing the gears clicking in these teenagers' head, and they're learning to work with Messi. And the more players that Messi has working with him, where the team isn't just revolving around him, but putting him in positions to succeed. As his third goal happened, yes, it was a finish he still had to get right with the angle that it was at, but Messi didn't have to dribble his way into that goal. He made the run, Pedri found him, and all Messi had to do was finish. I think at this point in his career, obviously he's lost half a step, but Messi can still do, and he has so much to give. And it was good to see that he got to give it today. So before we go, I want to wish everyone happy holidays, a very, very, very Merry Christmas. Barcelona getting 3 points, I think it's a pretty good present. We haven't had a lot of presents like this throughout the year, but a dominating performance against Real Valladolid and 3 more points to keep Barcelona fighting for a Champions League spot in the Liga table is good enough for Christmas for me. So I do want to say happy holidays to everyone, and as always, you know what it is. Forza Barça.